Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dami. If you're seeing my face for the very first time, I am Nigerian based in Brisbane, Australia, and I live in Brisbane with my family. I have two kids, one boy and one girl. And yeah, today I gave the background because I'm going to be talking about schooling in Australia. So we moved here in 2019, and at that point in time my kids were one of them of school age and one of them not of school age. So I just want to give an insight to families who would be bringing their family in and what the education system is like in Australia based on my personal experience living in Queensland precisely. Please note some of these things might differ per state and region. So yeah, that's it. If you're interested in this video, please stay tuned and keep watching. So yeah, welcome back. As mentioned, I'll be talking about schooling in Australia. To give more of background, we relocated to Australia in 2019, as I said, and my son was 5 at the time and my daughter was 3. In Australia, based on what I know, please do your personal research. School age start at 5, and 5 also depends on the month of birth. So because they usually would have a month cut off for people, either maybe you are born, I don't want to give specifics because this thing even differs state to state, so please do the research to see the cutoff, the cutoff for each of the different states wherever you're living in. So but basically your kids can start school at 5. Australia school year starts in January. So if you're 5 by January, or if you're going to be 5 before April, depending, you are allowed to start school. Up until that time, your kids are expected to go to kindy, which is the kindergarten, or C and K. So my daughter, when we came in initially, she was not the kindy. She went to C and K, and I think they only take people who are prepping to go into people who are preparing to go into prep. So she started kindy when she was 4. We came in at 3. So but before then, what we did was she was attending a family daycare around us. If you're in Brisbane and you want me, because it's quite cheaper than the private kindies you see around, so she was attending a family daycare owned by a Nigerian, so that price was quite reasonable. So she was attending that one up until when she was 4. So when she was 4, she started attending the kindy because of course we wanted her to mix more with other kids as well, just to prepare her for the year she's going to be having her head when she starts school when she's 5. She was attending the kindy, and the kindy, the way it works is they give you maybe 5 days per fortnight, if I remember very well. 5 days per fortnight. But because of the commitment of work we both had, like myself and my husband, what we did was we elected to make her go 5 days a week, and we paid additional cost for it. So but I think at that point it was 46. This price have changed because I know someone who was recently trying to go. It has changed a lot, and I'm sure by now you already know the cost of education is quite expensive, especially if you have young kids. It's quite expensive in Australia. So if you're going to a normal kindy, for instance, it's about $110 per day per child. If you don't have permanent residency, you are going to be paying the $1. Of course, if you have PR, you get subsidy and things like that, depending on your portfolio, like your family portfolio and things like that. So that's it about my daughter that was below the age of below school age. That was how she transitioned into school. But my son was of school age. He was 5, so immediately we came in, we registered into the nearest public school in our area. Another thing to bear in mind is the way you go to school in Australia. Public schools, private, this will not apply. Public schools use catchment area, so they look at your address and see the closest public school to you, and that's how they admit you into school. So they give priority to those who lives within the catchment. So that means if you're living around the school, and they give you admission. And luckily we had a very good public school beside our former house. That was the house we started living when we came in. We registered in there, and immediately it started school. And we didn't pay money. Public school was free to us. This again, I'm going to say, please do your personal research, because I've seen people who came on my visa in other states who had to pay for their kids to go to school, and everyone have a different story. But personally, we did not pay anything as school fees. The only money we paid at that point was maybe PTA or something, which was about $100 and something, very immaterial compared to what you pay in other schools and what I've heard people pay. And yeah, and then we had to buy like uniform, which those are the things that were expensive. We bought uniform and books, and they give you the list of books and you buy. But I think after his first year, they started you can now pay to the school, and like these amounts are still all under $1,000. You know, for a whole year, it is quite cheap. So it is so cheap, it's not even quite. So yeah, that was our first-hand experience when we came. So when considering the type of public schools you want to go, remember you are limited by the school you can go because of this catchment thing. But please also do your personal research. And again, what I've realized that people do, for instance, this current place we are living, I've realized a lot of people with family, with kids, want to live here because there's a state school just across the road that is very, very good. People literally will come and live here for 6 months just to have like because they will ask for your lease agreements to confirm you live around here. They will get the school admission and then they will move back to wherever they came from. Like, people just do it to secure the school. So if you're going to be renting a property as well, make sure you do research about schools in that area and read their reviews. Like, all of these things are publicly available information. So yeah, that is another thing you should consider before renting an apartment, is consider the schools in that catchment. Another thing is to mention the difference between public and private school. So my son went to public school for I think 2 years. He did his prep in the public school, and he did his year 1 in that public school. So my daughter now became of school age, and at this point they were going to go to school together. So, and then we moved. Yeah, I think, and then we moved. Regardless if we didn't move, we already started making the prep. So what we decided as a family was we just wanted something better. Public schools are good, bear this in mind. I'm not saying they are not good. I don't have any horror stories from sending my son to a public school, but we just wanted more. And one thing I tell people is, when we're coming to Australia, if you had asked us at the time, we're leaving because we want to give our children a better future. So what does better future mean for you? So whatever it means for you is really up to you, but this is what it meant for us, and this is what we wanted to do. And the curriculum for public and private schools are mostly the same, but the one reason, one main thing I would say is, we consider the fact that in public school there are all sorts of children there, like from different backgrounds. It's free, right? So by everybody, you know what I mean. I can't do it without speaking Yoruba, excuse my French. Anyway, so that was it for public school. But in private schools, you have to pay, and you're paying premium, you know. So it just restricts the type of people, the caliber of kids your children would meet. 1, 2, also the number of students per class in public and private school. I've heard a particular parent in kids school was saying like the number of kids are relatively the same depending on the public or private school you take your kids to, but the type of exposure they get in a public school is just different from private. Any parents who is willing to pay that premium to send their kids to private school definitely has some level of like, I just expect more. That's it. And then yeah, in public schools there's no religion whatsoever. We are Christians, just in case you don't know. So we wanted a Christian school, and most private schools in Brisbane I've seen are Christian schools. So we wanted that touch as well, like, you know what I mean. We, of course, we're Christians, we go to church, we do our devotions at home, but we just wanted that touch and like the kind of caliber of kids they're also mixing with. So that's it. But with that said, I have a list of pros and cons of private and public schools. So let's go through it, and now it's left for you to choose what works for you and what suits your family. Okay, so one of the pros of public school is that it is a reduced cost. It is cheaper. So why not? If I'm going to be saving a lot of money, why not send my kids to public school? So yeah, that is one of the pros of a public school. Another pro, I would say, this can be a pro and be a con, but in public school you're going to meet kids from all walks of life. Like, you meet all sort of people. So it is now dependent on your child or on you to choose, is this a pro or is this a con? But it gives your child a better exposure to the different type of people there can be, and even as parents you will meet these parents as well. So yeah, it just gives them like the right amount or maybe excess amount of exposure to different people from different backgrounds. We've talked about the pros, let's talk about the cons. So the cons of a public school, one would be the larger size, which I feel in return we just reduce the one-on-one attention each child will get from the teacher. Because imagine having a class of 20 or 30 and it's just one teacher, so it reduces the amount of attention each child will get from the teacher. So that's one of the cons of a public school. The other con is the risk of falling into the wrong hands, because as I said, like, it's just people from different walks of life, right? So there's a higher risk in a public school for your kids to fall into wrong hands. We've had instances of bullying when we got here. I'm not saying these things are not in private school, but it's just not as common as a public school. Let's just leave it at that. I've been to this public school at least for 2 years. I would work there every day and I know what I saw with my eyes compared to now that we're in a private school. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that is reduced, so bullying is very high. Like, when my son was in public school, I've had to like severally go and meet teachers to have conversations and things like that, and we've never experienced it in this private school. Even my daughter started prep in private school and she did not for once report anyone to, like, of course people will do what they do, and like I make them to know people choose who they want to be friends with and things like that. But and again, if you have kids with special needs, I don't think public school is the best because they need more attention compared to just dropping them in the large crowd and everything like that. So yeah, those are the two cons out I just want to talk about public. So I've talked about the pros and I've talked about the cons, so now it is left for you to decide which one works for you and your family. So now let's move to private school and what are the pros. The first private school is the smaller size, so like there are not lots of people there, you're paying a premium, so of course not everyone would come there. The other one is better equipment. With this one it is arguable because with public school they have public funds and they're able to do these things, but sometimes it just takes time for them to put things in place. You'd literally see a public school building for donkey years, but with private school they are charging premium and they don't have a choice than to serve us premium, if you know what I mean. So they have better equipment, better facilities, and yeah, that's it. If you're charging for this, you have to show something for it. So the cons of a private school would be, of course, the cost you have to pay. I've seen people pay as much as 30,000, 20 something thousand for private schools, so you're paying a premium. But the good thing is, if you have 2 kids, 3 kids, the more children you have, the lesser you pay. So I think that's one thing they also consider. So but it is not cheap. I've heard that some private schools, like the very good premium ones, are very hard to get into. So I didn't experience that. Ours was a Catholic private primary school and it was quite easy to get into. There was no hassle at all whatsoever. But one of the cons I've heard people talk about is those very good ones are very hard to get into compared to a public school that you can walk in. So far you're in the catchment, you can be guaranteed that you get a slot. So but some private schools are just hard to get into. Finally, I'm just going to go through a few things I feel is worthwhile to choose a private school. Please note you are free to choose whatever works for you, but what we think we're really happy about is, number one is the fact that most private schools are owned by Catholics and just private institutions. And my kids go to a Catholic private school. They are able to learn a lot of things about God in school. So they know a lot of Bible stories they've learned in school, which is so good and we are grateful for. And the number 2 thing is, in a private school, the number of like this is smaller sizes. So it allows the teacher to to be able to identify like the skill of a child and just help you better like improving it, because they will communicate this to say, it's just like, you know, the one-on-one attention. It just helps them to identify skills of these children at a very young age, and you can develop on it. The third thing is just the curriculum, you know, because private schools, there's a standard curriculum, but they are able to add things like for instance, PE. I know they do PE in my son's public school before. Language, now my kids, they learn Spanish. On Sunday I heard them speaking Spanish to my sister-in-law. Like, it was nice to hear. I don't know Spanish, but yeah, it's good. In public school as well, some public school offer this curriculum. And of course, religion. So they are able to fine-tune their curriculum in private schools to just add a bit and piece. And yeah, my son learns guitar. Like, there are just a lot of extracurricular activities in this private school compared to when it was in the public school. And then yeah, if you have a child that has a special skill, please look for schools with this, like, that offers extra classes on these special skills. For instance, engineering, like all these robot classes. So with private schools, you can easily look for a school that is one of their main key focus and can help your child develop those skills that they have. But anyway, that's it. Like, that's about it. So between the private and the public schools, I hope this information is helpful to one or two people. I hope you are able to like now determine, do I want to send my kids to private school or do I want to send them to public school? For me, public school is not bad. It was just the extra touch we wanted, and we are happy we are saying it. It is worth the investment. But at the end of the day, it's really up to you to choose what works for you and your family. Anyway, that will be the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.